Alchemy, the dark art and curious science of creating magic in brands, business, and life, by Rory Sutherland. Picture yourself in a sleek boardroom at a major beverage company. Someone throws down the gauntlet. Create a drink that can go toe-to-toe with Coca-Cola. What's your pitch? If you're thinking logically, you'd probably suggest something like, let's make it taste better, price it lower, and put it in a bigger bottle. Makes total sense, right? That's what any reasonable person would do. But here's what you probably wouldn't say. How about we make it ridiculously expensive, put it in a tiny can, and make it taste absolutely revolting? That sounds like you're trying to get fired, doesn't it? Yet one company did exactly that. And they built a global empire that stands shoulder to shoulder with Coke today. That drink? Red Bull. And I'm not exaggerating about the taste. Before going global, Red Bull hired a research firm to test the flavor. The results were the worst the agency had ever recorded. People didn't just dislike it, they were genuinely offended. One tester famously declared, "I wouldn't drink this piss if you paid me to." Fast forward to today, and Red Bull sells billions of cans annually. They're so successful they run a Formula One team just for kicks. So, what's going on here? This bizarre success story reveals a powerful force that shapes our world in ways we rarely acknowledge. It's what marketing genius Rory Sutherland explores in his fascinating book, Alchemy. Sutherland, who's vice chairman of the legendary ad agency Ogilvy, has spent his career studying the wonderfully weird and wildly unpredictable world of human behavior. His book takes us deep into what he calls psychologic, the messy, beautiful, deeply human operating system that actually drives our decisions. It's a direct challenge to our modern obsession with spreadsheets, data, and rigid rational thinking. By the time we're done today, you'll understand Red Bull's secret. But more importantly, you're going to see the world through a completely new lens. You'll discover why the most logical solution often fails spectacularly, why seemingly trivial details matter enormously, and how you can create a little magic in your own life and work by learning when to abandon common sense. Let's start with a simple truth that underpins everything in this book. The human mind doesn't run on logic any more than a car runs on orange juice. We live in a world that treats logic like a religion. Businesses, governments, schools, they all assume that if you gather enough data, build the right model, and follow a rational process, you'll find the best answer. We've constructed a civilization that leaves no space for miracles. But here's the catch. When you demand that everything make logical sense, you pay a hidden cost. You kill the magic. Sutherland calls this the tyranny of the arithmocracy, where only what can be measured matters. This mindset tricks us into solving human problems like they're physics equations. But people aren't predictable, like metal or mathematics. When we treat them as if they are, we create solutions that look perfect on paper, but crash and burn in reality. Consider a simple charity campaign. An organization Sutherland worked with was testing different donation envelopes. Some were standard. Others had small tweaks. One version reminded donors that their gift would be boosted by a 25% tax rebate. From a purely economic standpoint, this is the only change that should matter. It's real money, a tangible incentive. The other changes seemed ridiculous. One envelope used higher quality paper. Another had the flap on the short side instead of the long side. A third simply mentioned that a volunteer had delivered it. Any economist would tell you those last three are pointless details not worth testing. So what happened? The rational envelope mentioning the tax bonus actually reduced donations by over 30%. Meanwhile, those three illogical envelopes all increased donations by over 10%. The fancy paper even attracted significantly larger gifts. This makes zero logical sense. But it makes perfect psychological sense. Maybe the thick, quality paper made writing a larger check feel more appropriate and significant. Maybe knowing a volunteer had walked to your door triggered our deep human instinct to reciprocate effort. And perhaps highlighting the tax bonus made people feel like less of their own money was really needed. We can't say for certain. But here's what we do know. If we only let logical people solve problems, we'll only discover logical solutions. And in real life, most things aren't logical at all. They're psychological. This is the heart of alchemy, understanding that for almost every human action there are two reasons. There's the good, sensible, rational reason, and then there's the real reason. The alchemist's job is hunting for that real reason. It's like solving a cryptic crossword puzzle, where the surface meaning is designed to mislead you. You have to dig deeper to find the hidden truth. For instance, why do we brush our teeth? To prevent cavities and maintain dental health, obviously. Case closed. But if that's the whole story, why are 95% of toothpastes mint-flavored? The health benefits would work with any flavor. The truth is, we're driven just as much, if not more, by that immediate tingly feeling of a clean mouth and the social confidence from fresh breath. The long-term health benefit is a bonus, but the real driver is psychological. The modern world, however, is deeply uncomfortable with this idea. It's run by people who've built entire careers on being rational. These are the folks who, when faced with a failing product, suggest cutting the price. Suggesting you add more cute puppies to your advertising, even when it's proven to work, sounds ridiculous in a boardroom. And that's exactly why it can be so powerful. There's no advantage in being logical if everyone else is being logical too. Logic, by its nature, is available to everyone. If you and your competitors all use the same logic, you'll all arrive at the same place. The only way to find a real competitive edge is to explore the irrational, the counterintuitive, the stuff that doesn't quite add up. This brings us to one of Sutherland's core principles. The opposite of a good idea can also be a good idea. In physics, the opposite of a good idea is almost always terrible. But in psychology, it's completely different. You can sell a product by saying, lots of people own this, so it must be good. That's social proof. Or you can sell it by saying, very few people own this, so it must be exclusive. That's scarcity. Both work brilliantly, just in different contexts. Look at retail. In recent years, the winners have been high-end luxury brands and low-end discount stores. The middle has been squeezed. Why? Because we get a psychological reward from both extremes. We feel clever and resourceful finding a great bargain, and we feel special and indulgent buying an expensive treat. The middle-of-the-road purchase offers neither emotional payoff, it's just stuff. This reveals that human desire isn't a simple straight line. Our decisions are profoundly shaped by context. Sutherland tells a story about someone who falls in love with banana liqueur on a Caribbean vacation. It tastes like absolute heaven. Convinced he's discovered the next big thing, he buys the import rights for the UK. He gets home, excitedly pours glasses for his friends, and it's disgusting, genuinely vomit-inducing. The drink hadn't changed, the context had. The same liquid that tasted magical on a sunny Caribbean beach tasted sickly sweet in a gray British kitchen. Our perception of reality is warped by our surroundings, our mood, our expectations. Economists and logic lovers hate this. Their models require universal, unchanging laws, but in the real world of actual human beings, context is everything. So how do we start mastering this messy psychological world? Sutherland introduces some powerful concepts. The first, and perhaps most important, is signaling. Many things that seem wasteful or inefficient from a logical perspective make perfect sense when you realize their true purpose is sending a powerful, unspoken message. Signaling is about demonstrating commitment, trustworthiness, and intent in a way that can't be faked. For this to work, the signal has to be costly. Think about wedding invitations. The actual information, who, where, when, could be sent in a free email. But we don't do that. We spend a fortune on thick, embossed cardstock with fancy calligraphy. Why? Because the costliness of the invitation signals the importance of the event. It says, this matters so much to us that we're willing to engage in this slightly absurd and expensive ritual. An email can't convey that depth of meaning. The biologist Amatz Zahavi called this costly signaling theory, and it's everywhere in nature. It's why a peacock has that ridiculously large, gorgeous tail. From a survival perspective, it's a disaster. It's heavy, makes flying difficult, and basically screams "eat me" to predators. Darwin himself once said the sight of a peacock's tail made him physically ill because it seemed to contradict his entire theory of natural selection. But the tail's true purpose isn't survival, it's reproduction. It's a costly signal to peahens saying, "Look at me, I'm so healthy and fit that I can survive despite hauling around this absurd, burdensome ornament. Imagine how amazing our offspring will be." We see this constantly in human behavior. A law firm doesn't work out of a cheap office. It has a grand lobby with marble floors and expensive art. This isn't just decoration. It's a costly signal saying, "We're successful and stable. You can trust us with your important legal matters." It's advertising their confidence in their own future. Advertising itself is a form of costly signaling. A big, expensive television commercial doesn't just tell you about a product. The very fact that the company can afford to spend millions on that ad signals their belief in the product's quality. They're betting on repeat business. No company would spend that kind of money getting you to try a terrible product once, because word would spread and their investment would be wasted. This is why we trust brands. A brand isn't just a name, it's a repository of reputation. Samsung has far more to lose by selling you a faulty television than some unknown brand called Huawei. So we pay extra for the Samsung name, not necessarily because we think it's the absolute best, but because we're confident it won't be terrible. As one of Sutherland's mentors put it, we don't choose brand A over brand B because we think A is better, but because we're more certain that it's good. This isn't about maximizing outcomes, it's about minimizing the chance of disaster. This leads us to another core concept, satisficing. This wonderful word, coined by Nobel laureate Herbert Simon, blends satisfy and suffice. It describes how we actually make decisions in real life. We don't, as economists assume, exhaustively analyze every possible option to find the single optimal choice. That's impossible. We lack the time, information, and mental horsepower. Instead, we look for an option that's good enough. Captain Chesley Sullenberger, the pilot who famously landed his crippled plane on the Hudson River, didn't pull out a calculator to solve complex physics equations for the optimal landing spot. He used a heuristic, a simple rule of thumb from his experience as a glider pilot. He looked at the potential runway at Teterboro Airport, and by watching whether it moved up or down in his windshield, he could instantly tell if he could make it. He satisficed. He found a satisfactory solution for a complex, real-world situation, rather than an optimal solution for a simplified, theoretical one. We do this constantly. When driving, we don't solve differential equations to navigate a turn. We use feel and experience. We buy the best-selling car not because it's objectively the best, but because it's unlikely to be a complete lemon. We're wired not just to seek the best outcome, but more importantly, to avoid the worst-case scenario. This brings us back to Red Bull. Why did this expensive, tiny, bad-tasting drink succeed? Because all those flaws were actually brilliant signals. They were a form of subconscious hacking. The weird, medicinal taste didn't say delicious soft drink. It said potent elixir. It hacked our brains into thinking it must contain powerful, functional ingredients. After all, medicine is supposed to taste bad, right? The tiny can did something similar. It subconsciously signaled, "This stuff is so powerful, you only need a small dose. If you drank a whole pint of this, you'd go crazy." And the high price? That reinforced the entire illusion. Expensive things are more effective. Research shows people report greater pain relief from an expensive placebo than a cheap one. The price wasn't a barrier, it was part of the product's perceived power. Red Bull isn't just a drink, it's a placebo. It works not only because of the caffeine inside, but because of what we believe it does. And everything about its marketing, from the weird taste to sponsoring extreme sports, is designed to strengthen that belief. It's a masterclass in psychologic. It's pure alchemy. The beauty of alchemy is that it often involves finding value in things that seem trivial, the small details. Sutherland's rule, dare to be trivial. A few years ago, a major e-commerce website was hemorrhaging millions because customers abandoned their shopping carts at checkout. The page was simple: fields for email and password, and 2 buttons, login and register. Seems logical, right? You want customers to create accounts for easier future purchases. But people hated it. One shopper said, "I'm not here to enter into a relationship. I just want to buy something." They saw registration as a barrier, an invasion of privacy, a hassle. So designers made a tiny change. They replaced the register button with "Continue as guest" and added a simple line of text. The result? Sales jumped 45%. In the first month alone, the company made an extra $15 million. In the first year, that one tiny, trivial change was worth an estimated $300 million. Here's the really strange part. Most people who chose to continue as guest still ended up creating an account after completing their purchase. The action was identical, but the context and timing changed everything. Asking for details to complete delivery feels helpful. Asking for details just to join a database feels intrusive. This is alchemy. It's not about changing the fundamental reality of a situation. It's about changing the perception of it. Understanding that the frame matters more than the picture. Think of the pilot who announced they'd have to take a bus from the plane to the terminal. He started by saying, "I've got some bad news and some good news." The bad news was the bus. The good news? The bus will take you directly to passport control, so you won't have to walk as far with your bags. Objectively, nothing changed, but psychologically, everything did. He gave passengers a new narrative. He reframed the annoying bus as a convenient shortcut. Suddenly, the curse felt like a blessing. We're meaning-making creatures. We'll latch on to any plausible narrative that lets us see a situation in a better light. This is the power you gain when you stop trying to be purely logical and start thinking like an alchemist. You realize you don't always need massive budgets or technological breakthroughs to solve problems. Sometimes, all you need is a shift in perspective. You can make a train journey feel faster, not by spending billions on new tracks, but by installing Wi-Fi and power outlets, making the time on board more enjoyable and productive. You can increase sales by raising the price, signaling higher quality. You can get people to recycle, not by lecturing them about polar bears, but by simply giving them a second bin for their kitchen, making the behavior easier. This way of thinking frees you from the straitjacket of conventional wisdom. It gives you permission to be a little silly. To ask the dumb questions nobody else is asking. To test the counterintuitive ideas that seem crazy at first. Because in a world where everyone's digging for gold with the same map, the only way to find treasure is looking where nobody else is looking. To understand that the most powerful forces in our lives aren't the logical, measurable ones, but the hidden, psychological ones. And to remember that a flower is simply a weed with an advertising budget. As we wrap up our journey through alchemy, it's worth pausing to reflect on the book's deepest message. What Rory Sutherland has given us isn't just a collection of fascinating stories and marketing tricks. It's a profound and timely rebellion against a way of thinking that's come to dominate our world. He calls it the arithmocracy, the rule of experts who believe life's complexities can be reduced to numbers on a spreadsheet. These are the people who, in their relentless pursuit of efficiency and optimization, often strip the world of its meaning, its joy, and its magic. They're the ones who'd replace a friendly hotel doorman with an automatic door, defining his job merely as, quote, opening the door, while completely missing his true value, the sense of security, the warm welcome, the human touch, and the signal of status he provides. An automatic door is more efficient, sure, but it doesn't make you feel special. The logic is flawless, but the humanity is gone. The great danger of our age is that we've become so enchanted by the appearance of scientific certainty that we've forgotten the value of human wisdom. We trust a theoretical model more than what we see with our own eyes. We dismiss powerful psychological solutions because they can't be neatly proven with a formula. Sutherland's work is a powerful reminder that it's okay to trust our instincts, that it's not only acceptable but essential to make space for the unquantifiable parts of life. Politeness, for instance, is fundamentally inefficient. It involves hundreds of small, effortful rituals that are, from a purely functional standpoint, unnecessary. Yet it's the very costliness and inefficiency of these acts that gives them meaning. They signal that we care about others and about our reputation. So what can we take away from this? How do we become alchemists in our own lives? First, give yourself permission to ask stupid questions. Next time you face a problem, don't just jump to the most obvious, logical solution. Ask a childishly simple why. Why do people hate standing on trains? Is it really about physical discomfort? Or is it about feeling cheated, losing control, or not having a place for bags? By questioning the obvious, you open up a universe of creative solutions others will miss. Second, dare to be trivial. Pay attention to small, seemingly irrelevant details of human experience. The texture of an envelope, the shape of a chocolate bar, the wording on a button. This is where the magic lives. In a world obsessed with big data, the most valuable insights often come from what Sutherland calls small data, the kind of deep, empathetic observation of human behavior that can't be captured by an algorithm. And finally, remember that in any human-centered problem, perception is reality. Don't just focus on changing the thing itself. Think about how you can change the meaning of the thing. A bus to the terminal can be an annoyance or a convenience. A fine can be a punishment or a contribution to the community. A pension can be a loss of current income or a share in your future success. By reframing the problem, you can often solve it at a fraction of the cost. That was the book summary of Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. We've explored some of the biggest ideas today, but here's the truth. A summary can only take you so far. The real magic happens when you read the book yourself. It's in those quiet moments when a particular story or simple phrase sparks an unexpected idea. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book deserves your time. If anything we've talked about has lit a fire in your mind, I urge you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning new facts. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see the world and the hidden opportunities all around you. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.